is finally fucking raining, and I am going to light a candle if I can find an actual fucking lighter. Not the lighter I had in mind, but it is a lighter, okay? That is all that we need right now. Let's get aesthetic. I can't even see the candle. Is this festive? Is this decorated enough for you? My glasses are dirty. Waiting to fucking talk about this for a I just can't fucking stand it. I have been waiting to talk about this for a very whatever. I didn't even want to talk. You're right.
0, 1. Let's get started.
A light green frog turned puppet is loved by many. His loving gestures, his witty responses, and kindness surrounds his attraction. Kermit the Frog wears a facade for the audience. The space between the facade and actual personality is dark. In domestic relationships with Miss Piggy, Kermit is filled with toxic masculinity and emotional abuse. His behavior, such as generalizing, gaslighting, or manipulating the narrative, has reflected on how people view Miss Piggy and her behaviors, characterizing her as an obsessed, overbearing lover. And if you fucking come around here talking about, oh, Miss Piggy does this, shut up. We are talking about Kermit. God forbid we mention the man. God forbid we talk about the man. God. In 1974, The Muppet Show was born. It showcased the Muppets in an episodic variety show with a range of famous people. In one of the episodes, Kermit the Frog gave Miss Piggy a diamond, changed his mind, and took it back. This is the start of his tactics towards Miss Piggy. There are also a plot of unreleased 1983 Atari game, Miss Piggy's Wedding, and it asks the player to get Kermit through a series of obstacles out of a church and into a waiting taxi to stand up Miss Piggy. To stand up literally Miss Piggy. And in 1967, the relationship was solidified in the first movie ever, The Muppet Movie. And from the first scene, there's a strong sense of who carries leadership. As Kermit enters the theater, his actions are critical. It is a natural response being dominant, especially in how his peers are acting. Miss Piggy is shown as loving, only wanting to grasp the attention of her lover. It could have been a simple acknowledgement towards her, appreciating that she took the time to save him a seat, but he walks off in the midst of the sentence that came out of her mouth. The sentence didn't even get to be acknowledged or heard. It is irking to watch him ignore her rational thought to start the show, trying to go on a tangent, but not being able to due to the uproar in the theater. It was a natural karma that led him into starting the show to calm down the rowdiness, which could have been avoided if he listened to his lover.
Speeches are not necessary, dear. Roll the film.
All he could have done was listen to her. Kermit does not look into the quality of his relationships, especially with Miss Piggy. There is an underlying issue of respect towards his coworkers or even friends. It is ludicrous to think about, especially from his upbringing or who he stands as a frog. Especially his background. Kermit was raised in a small swamp, usually fiddling with his stupid fucking banjo. It was not until a straggler came by and mentioned an audition. It was for frogs and the ability to make millions of people happy, which initiated him to leave the swamp. As he is on his travels, he is recruiting other Muppets from humble beginnings. In one of the scenes, they pass by a fair. This is the first interaction with his future lover. Miss Piggy was one of the contestants, who won for being gorgeous. When Kermit laid his eyes on Miss Piggy, it was love at first sight. I find a similarity with film noir and their relationship while watching the film. Film noir is usually a style of filmmaking characterized by such elements as cynical heroes, stark lighting effects, frequent use of flashbacks, intricate plot, and underlying philosophy. Ideologically, the femme fatale both threatens and used to reaffirm Americans' culture with the highest mythic authority. This authority follows the holiness of the male-dominant household and in many ways the political economy of the patriarchal capitalism. Her sexuality thus personifies, intensifies, and moralizes these narratives, often contradicting the primary dominant culture. There is empowerment for the woman, weakness for the man. Since many, if not most, of the movies featuring a femme fatale are written by men, it seems fair to consider a Jungian take on the character type that it represents the negative aspect of the Amina. More of a projection of how a woman appears to a man rather than an objective reality. Miss Piggy is characterized as a femme fatale. As the Muppet Wiki states, her public face is the soul of feminine charm, but she can instantly fly into a rage whenever she thinks she is insulted. Kermit enhances the characteristic due to his actions towards Miss Piggy and his underlying goals or needs. Their relationship harms both of them due to their strong personalities, even to say it was doomed from their first interaction. Kermit's sense of masculinity is inferior towards a grown woman who is already firm in her life. During the whole movie and to this point, Kermit has been recruiting Muppets from different humble beginnings. As Miss Piggy is enthusiastic to wanting to join in, there is hesitancy. It is a bit queer to watch him hesitate, wanting to say no as Miss Piggy has worked hard for where she was. Her father died in a tractor accident when she was young, and her mother was not very nice to her. She left home as a teenager after graduating from charm school and working in a department store selling gloves. She was forced to pose for some ads, including a bacon product.
Walk a mile in these Louboutins. You don't hate when I know where they're...
She had also entered a beauty pageant to survive in the world. The audience would take context that this was her big break, winning this pageant. Some might say it isn't misogyny, due to Kermit wanting to recruit Janice and the band Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, but her talent is not within making music or having comedic timing on stage, but her presence, her confidence with her attractiveness. Even though Miss Piggy is able to play multiple instruments, tap dance, sing, she bases her career on modeling and acting. It triggers Kermit in a subtle tone of misogyny. Even if it's internalized, it shows. It's as if a silent competition that he is only playing. Kermit the Frog is intimidated by her nature and goals. He is hesitant for her to join them to make it to stardom. Their first interaction was not anxiety seeing Miss Piggy closer to him, but finding her as an obstacle. Piggy asks him to wait for her to get her bags, which would only take a few fucking seconds because it's on fair grounds, and instead of clear communication, he stands there before leaving her as she leaves the scene. It is a juxtaposition Kermit puts Miss Piggy. Kermit's behaviors are bipolar, usually doing things for his own gain. He later on, even with his remarks or actions, asks her for a romantic dinner date. He buys an expensive wine and moonlit scenery for the night. His gestures give the idea of forgiveness, a clear sentiment of how he really felt. Even verbally, it was telling that he had romantical intentions with her, such as, "Here's to you, Miss Piggy," or "The moon doesn't look like you." Is that not fucking romantical? Is that not romantical? It was the only first time of them being alone, by the way. And the advantage of almost sharing a kiss. It was interrupted until Miss Piggy had a phone call from her agent. It was not intentional. It was not in her control. Yet Kermit makes it seem as it is. His reaction to the situation is generalizing women in song form and wishing there to be something better to come on. Or come along. His emotions are so strong with Miss Piggy. In such a short time, he has become almost obsessive, as if she already laid a ground stable relationship with him when it never was anything. Miss Piggy's admiration is simple and rational, but Kermit made it complex. The bartender cannot help but also sympathize or enable the behavior due to not understanding the relationship. Kermit paints it to be a painful relationship that Miss Piggy is constantly in habit of leaving him, which is a reflection of his own actions. Which also makes me think about, earlier, when he has left her multiple times. Literally multiple times with no punishment. But she gets punished, which is insane. There is a grayscale of not comprehending if there is an issue with communication or the character's reaction when these things are happening. It is a foreshadowing pattern doomed in the seams of the relationship. When he realizes Miss Piggy is kidnapped, he is still upset. Even with a valid reason of being absent, apologizing for being kidnapped, it is not enough for Kermit. And I believe that she literally got them out of that situation on top of that. Their relationship does not falter, even with implications. In 1984, Muppets Take Over Manhattan, they end in a real marriage. Even offset. Kermit calls himself a happily married frog in the 1-hour CBS special The Muppets, a celebration of 30 years. In 1993, Miss Piggy told Larry King, with Kermit sitting next to her, literally sitting right next to her, "The truth is that we are married." She explains that the denials were for his fans, which is completely really weird and odd. In their private life, they live together and are deeply happy. Kermit did not contradict his wife during Larry King Live, but in 2005, in a video for the series Pepe's Profiles, he denied ever having a relationship with Miss Piggy at all. At all. I don't know how you do that when there's been a movie, a whole show, a whole marriage, a whole few interviews. Out of nowhere. Out of literally nowhere. It was hot and cold partnership, especially in their separation. In 2001, The Muppets came out, which is another movie. There is a discovery that the Muppet Studios were under tension of being bulldozed and drilled for oil. Walter, the world's biggest Muppets fan, runs a rendezvous to get Kermit reunited with the old cast members. This meant a confrontation with Miss Piggy. When encountering Miss Piggy, she is broken up with, but not broken. She is a successful businesswoman without Kermit, living the dreams she had before Kermit. Kermit is intimidated at first, but once he has an inch, he takes the whole mile. Miss Piggy gives a strong rational boundary, such as wanting to speak alone to not wanting to join into the show. Kermit forces her to speak in front of others. He tries to break her down on her rationalized thoughts, belittling her the idea by phrases such as, "Piggy, why do you have to be so overdramatic about some things? You know, it leaves me with no choice to do but to do things to hurt you." Is that not an insane statement in the year of 2011? Is that not an insane statement to a grown-ass woman who has a very good fucking business going for her and she gave you the most rational fucking thought ever? To hurt me. To hurt me. Kermit flips the narrative, making it seem as if every time that he has hurt her, it was her fault. It is as if pushing into an open wound. From the way he names her, to the way he tries to standardize his action towards her, negative feelings towards him. Since the beginning of the relationship, he looks into the relationship for his own gain, like I already have said. When he wanted stardom, it was for his own gain. And to join the show in a duet, since they are seen as an adequate, loving couple, for his own gain. He does this to everyone, but especially Miss Piggy. Kermit does not confront the idea of personally needing someone or thing, but making it seem as if it's a team effort. In the movie, this is touched upon. Miss Piggy tells Kermit herself that he needs to be a man of his own words, and to mean it. In past media and media moving forward, Kermit is usually nonchalant in his tones and actions. He does not care about the emotional consequence. Using tactics such as belittling or guilt tripping, Miss Piggy gives in. She's phrased as most has seen her, from her personal actions or the words of Kermit's, as her own selfish act. Another hypocritical action Kermit does is when they're kidnapped by Jack Black to be the celebrity to host, which is strange from him due to pushing people into being part of the show, even if they don't want to. Even in his snarky remarks and actions, they end in mutual feelings of buried love. Kermit finds accountability in himself, telling Miss Piggy that he doesn't need or want the whole world to love him. Without fail, his words do not match his actions. In the same year, while dealing with interviews, he spoke with a few talk show hosts, Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, that were told that they were together, but not married, and to Ellen DeGeneres that Miss Piggy is a mudraker, creating false stories about them. One cannot be the other. The Muppet movie was supposed to be a reenactment of how the Muppets came together. Their relationship did not appear out of thin air. Miss Piggy is a confident woman, even a strong one, but weak for Kermit. She is wrapped around his finger, stringed along for his enjoyment and when. It is almost sadistic, especially with how thin she has to spread herself for him. Nothing satisfies his hunger for anguish and defensive behavior. In 2015, on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kermit was cruel to Miss Piggy. Discussing his new girlfriend, Denise, Kermit boasted, "Let's just say she's old enough." Okay, Leonardo fucking DiCaprio. Okay, Leonardo. When Kimmel asked if Miss Piggy was dating anyone, Kermit answered, "Yeah, that's it, she's dating anyone." That is the most degrading thing I have ever heard from someone who is supposed to be positive. Spread love, be a good person. Where are we seeing this, especially when he treats Miss Piggy like this? Her reactions, especially physical, should not be tolerated. No conversation should end in violence. It does spark an idea of reactive abuse, though. In the relationship, Miss Piggy is usually emotionally abused. She is provoked. His antagonist actions, pushing her to react at her breaking point in a violent or non-violent way. It does not matter due to reaction from Kermit. It either incites into personal doubt or guilt. As he gaslights their relationship from having one to not, it causes a heightened dependence onto their partner. What person or Piggy would not do anything and everything to become a little bit obsessed with trying to be good enough for another person? Who would not do that? It does not condone the actions, nor do I say every relationship was perfect, but Miss Piggy does not deserve the thought of being like only seen as a melodramatic, overbearing woman, especially with what she was fighting with during the times that she was going through this.
Hey, hi, ho, how you doing? Oh, whatever she said.
Fucking do it. Fucking bitch. Oh my. You know, and I'm glad, you know, we have such an amazing woman to be there for our feminism. You know? Ideologically, well, I wanted to be fucking festive about this shit, but I can't find a fucking lighter. And that's low-key my PP, my personal fucking problem. But it would be nice, would it not? Would that not enhance the fucking moment? I'm losing it. I had it. I just fucking had it, by the way. I just fucking had it. I have been waiting to talk about this for a very fucking long time. Like a very long time in my life. Because it's been an issue. By an issue, not really.